Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Dynamics Corner, the podcast where we dive deep into all things Microsoft Dynamics. Whether you're a seasoned expert or just starting your journey into the world of Dynamics 365, this is your place to gain insights, learn new tricks, and hear from industry experts. I'm your co-host, Chris.
And this is Brad. This episode was recorded on December 19th, 2022. Wait, 23? What's wrong with me, Chris?
You're already jumping backwards, and then you'll be jumping forwards.
Man, it's New Year's. It's the holiday season. I'm confused,
Yes.
and I even had to look up to see the date, but the date doesn't have the year, so I have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm happy to be back. I like your sweater.
Yes.
I do say I have a sweater. Thank you very much. Chris had given me a sweater. That was a beautiful sweater that I had worn to a family Christmas party, so it's dirty. And I wasn't able to wear it.
It's supposed to be an ugly sweater, but I guess it's a beautiful sweater.
I think ugly sweaters are beautiful.
They are.
Because I
nice.
like them. My ugly sweater was great, and everybody got a kick out of it and thought it was hysterical. And I did also wear pajama pants and slippers to the family party. So I was wearing my ugly sweater, my ugly pajama pants, and my ugly slippers. So I did win best dressed for the holiday family party. Thank you very much. But also today we had another great guest who's been in the community longer than me. I didn't know anybody existed like that. But with us today, we had the opportunity to speak with Kim Dallefeld. Ready, Chris? I think I'm ordering one today for Christmas. Ready? Take two.
Nice.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good. How are y'all?
I'm doing very well. Very well. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Been looking forward to speak with you. I see that you have the holiday festive background. I need to do something. I should put up a fake wreath or tree or some sort of holiday thing. But by the time I put that stuff up, the holiday is over.
It's time to take it down.
Yes. So I choose not to put anything up. So
my husband threatened to start taking stuff down yesterday. And I'm like, no. You have to put up with it for one more week.
I thought you keep them up after New Year's.
We don't. We start literally the day after Christmas. It's like, all right, let's put all this stuff up.
I got you.
I used to, I conceded and had given till New Year's. So it'd have to be down before the New Year. But I'm also not one that tries to put it up too early. Some people put up, I think Christmas this year started in July, long before Labor Day, long before Halloween, and definitely long before Thanksgiving. It was weird, looking for Thanksgiving items, listening to Christmas music.
We start right after Thanksgiving, like the day after. Typically, would go out and if you want to get your trees, you go out right after Thanksgiving, and then schedule your holiday run, get your trees up and everything, and put away all the Thanksgiving stuff. So
well, we hired somebody to put the lights up on the house this year, and so to do that, the best price was to get it done before Thanksgiving. So the lights are up. We just didn't turn them on, till the day after Thanksgiving, which was really early for us. But I was like, we're going to splurge this year and not climb the ladders and all that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So do you do a real or a fake tree?
I have a fake tree. What
about you? Fake tree. Chris, what about you?
Chris?
We were doing real trees for a long time. And in this season, we kind of the kids are we don't want to cut trees anymore. It's too much. What happens is that we go cut a tree, and so everyone gets a chance to try to, a few saws off and And after that, I usually do the rest, which is not fun. And we don't use chainsaw, of course. You're gonna have to do manually. And then this year, like, yeah, you know what? Costco has them on sale. There's already lights on them. Let's go get one of
I
those.
started off with, I don't put anything up now. Call me the Grinch, call me the Scrooge, whatever you'd like. But I find it's just easier not having anything. I used to put up the pre-lit trees because I thought this was great. You could put up 3 pieces or 2 pieces, plug it in, the tree's already lit, you throw on some ornaments and you're done.
Yeah.
But then I did move to having the real trees.
I love a new tree. A real tree, the way they smell, they're just so nice. But it's a lot of work, and they lose those needles, go everywhere, and it's,
Well, you have to cut it. You have to cut it and water it, and sometimes if they say to put sugar or something in the water to help it. But I did like the real trees. The Frisian firs were my favorite, just for the leaves. They didn't get all that needly and falling over. Yeah. But
they smell so good.
Apparently, you can get sprays now.
Yes, I was going to say that. You can get candles and sprays. I have a candle that smells like a Christmas tree, and you think you're in the pine forest.
Yeah,
I got some little sticks one year, and you kind of put them in the fake tree, and so the tree smelled like it was real, but it was just those little sticks.
Jump back to the house for a moment. No, I think what you could do is just leave them up year round. I see people who leave their lights up year round because you can use them to light your house up for, if you have the white ones, the white icicles or the like, they do look nice throughout the year, 4th of July or other holidays. But then you don't have to put them up again. If you just leave them off, nobody will notice them.
You can get one of those color changing LEDs all year round.
Yes.
So then you can change it by theme. So if you're into football, game day, you'd have those colors.
That's a good idea.
I heard of that recently. You put them up and they kind of go right under the eave all the way around, and you leave them up and you get to change the color. So you can have them orange and purple for Halloween or whatever. Or you can have Valentine's or
I think that's something I would do. If you can put it up, leave them up, and then use them for different occasions, like you had mentioned. You do red and white for Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. You do
that would be fun.
Orange. Yeah. I like that. I think that's a good idea. But enough about the Christmas conversation or the holiday lighting setup. I think everybody's talking about that at this time of the year. But we'd like to thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I've been looking forward to talk with you about your take on the reporting within Business Central. But before we get into that, would you mind telling everyone a little bit about yourself and your involvement?
I don't like to talk about myself, but my name's Kim Dallefeld. I'm almost a 1-year anniversary of becoming an MVP. That was January, so that was exciting. I have actually been working on Business Central.
So we have to do the clapping, right? It's back, Chris. I figured it out again. So.
Oh yes. See, Kim, we have these media boards.
And
I love it.
I will probably annoy you, but it's okay. Congratulations on your and receiving the MVP award, as well as your 1-year holding of the award. It was really
exciting. I've been working on Business Central and its predecessor NAV, and that predecessor Navision, right? January will mark the end of 28 years and the start of year 29. So that's a big milestone.
So if I do the math,
I'm going to try, I think, maybe to make it to 30. I don't know. We'll see.
So what year was that you started? Have you been at this longer than me?
Yeah, 1996.
Wow. So Chris, we've met somebody who's been at this longer than me. I know of others that have been roughly the same time, but I don't think I've.
Rob Del Prado is 1 year behind me.
Oh, wow.
He started in 97.
And I started in 98.
Yeah, back in the day, we spent 1 week.
We can't talk to you anymore now. I have to be the oldest.
1 week learning how to implement, 1 week, and 1 week learning how to develop.
Yes.
So we knew enough to be really dangerous, right?
Oh, yes. And then you had the Intro to Financials, which was the 1 week course, or roughly 1 week. I don't remember if it was 3 days or 5 days, but you had the 1 week development class. You had the 2 week advanced development class. You also had, if you recall, do you remember Financial Analyst? Remember they had the financial analyst class?
Well, see, when I did it, Navision came to Houston. That's where I was living at the time, and they actually trained several people in Houston over 2 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So I went to Norcross, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't go
It
there.
was around Thanksgiving. I recall I started a job, I think the week of Thanksgiving. So I went into the office for 2 days, and then right after that, I flew to Norcross, Georgia for a month to get all of the training classes out of the way.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, congratulations.
So it's been a while. Most of it's been on the job training, right? And working with people like you. I learned a lot from some developers that came over and worked for a partner that I was with early on. And they were amazing. I learned so much from those Danish guys because they knew the product, they knew how to develop, and they knew all the tips and the tricks and all of that. So I used to do quite a bit of development. I don't do that at all really anymore. So yeah,
that's a good conversation I'd like to have at one point. Is it better to be a functional consultant, as they call it, or a developer? Chris, we have to. That's something I want to have for a future conversation.
Yeah.
I want to. We won't jump into that now, but thank you.
It's a fun conversation to have, though, with people that have kind of done both sides. Yeah.
I would like to do that, Chris. Let's put that down, and we'll reach out to several people so we can have a panel to have that conversation, because I have this conversation with individuals, but I'd like to broaden the topic to a wider group to see their take on it. I have my personal opinion on that at this point, so I'll share it then, but not to take away from this. So congratulations. Hopefully you make it to 30. 30 years is a long time.
You got it. You got it, Kim.
I think you have it in you. If you have a couple more
there's
years.
so much more in BC.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And you just achieved the MVP status, so you have to hold that for a couple of years at least.
No, right?
So you
can't just get it and leave, right?
No. But also there is something to be said for going out on a high note too. So if you go out and you make the achievement and you've done it, as they say. So it's a good time.
Yeah.
But
it's that path actually led me to set up a blog and write. I didn't realize how many things I'd already written down and just really didn't publish anywhere, right? And so to provide those, and then to do recordings like with you guys and the Three Amigos, and just different, all the speaking that I've always done. Well, I've done for the past many years. And that is like, well, I didn't realize how much I was actually doing until you kind of make a list of it. Right. And then you go, oh, I guess I have done a little bit. So that was kind of fun to see.
You make a great point, especially now that's much easier to put up a blog site. I remember in the early days, it's like, what do you even begin? Like you have all this information, you want to put it all together. And then now it's like in 5 minutes, you can get a website up and running.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. And actually, when I just put up, I'm copying people. It's like, you had such a good article. Can I repost it on my site? I did one from Cynthia Preby on some banking. She does a lot of banking things. So she says, yeah, share it. And I did one from Freddie, the one he put out on how reporting is changing, which was something I was interested in. And so I thought he did just a great article to kind of give us a viewpoint of how Microsoft's attacking the whole reporting thing. So, he goes, repost it. So everybody's so willing to, share that information and just get it out there however they can. That makes it nice.
No, it is. It's a great community. I say it over and over again, and everybody's willing to help and share. The reporting comment that you made, it is interesting. I did see the post about the reporting, and I know through conversation it's something that also interests you. So what is your take on reporting within Business Central? We could start diving into that.
Yeah. Well, Freddie talked about a triangle, and his triangle was about kind of operational reporting, analytical reporting, um, and there's like three things. I can't think of the third one, but in how they're doing changes. And he said the world is changing in Business Central for reporting, um, because they do want to utilize other Microsoft tools, right? And not necessarily expand every report or get every report inside of Business Central. That's not their goal. Their goal is to have as much as you need there, uh, but then allow some of the other tools to come in. I was reading another article this morning, was talking about how a few years ago a person said, "Oh, Power Automate's going to change the way you do things in Business Central," and everybody went, "Yeah, right." And yet it is, right? And I think that's kind of what we're going to see over the next few years, is what we do inside of BC versus what we do in Power BI or Fabric or all the other tools. Now, when I start talking Fabric and Power BI, that's way outside my comfort zone. I know the names, and that's about it.
No,
right?
it's very difficult to keep up with everything, but you are correct from what I see, and it becomes difficult. And for years, I've noticed that if you look at reporting, define reporting. Right? What does somebody refer to as reports? Oh, I need a sales report, or I need a report to do this. I mean, I know it's been many years where individuals implementing the Business Central Navision NAV solution would often get, I need, a report that gives me this, a report that gives us that. So there would be a huge portion of an implementation. Then it was, oh, I need to be able to download this to Excel. I need to be able to do this to Excel. So, okay, let's get the data in the system and then provide a means, like you had mentioned, someone can extend in and report, I use the word loosely, report, or more or less analyze the data. So then to me, there was a segmentation between analytical reporting and those types of reports that are fixed reports. So if you were required to put a packing slip, is what we would call the customer facing documents, more for shipping and invoicing, versus analytical and reporting, where the analytical and reporting needs are more dynamic and have to cover different topics, because it's okay, I want to segment my business like this. Let me see it. Well, how is my, you can't put all those reports in a system because everybody will have different metrics for their business. You're going to get me on a tangent here. I apologize. So I see more now.
Well, everybody wants something different, right? Well, I want columns like, I want them this way now, and they've got to be that way, because I can't deal with it if it's 1, 2, 3. I need 3, 2, 1. It's like, come on, it's the same data. But yeah,
you made a great point earlier regarding whenever Microsoft releases something or a new product is out, like you mentioned Power Platform. I mean, Power BI was the same thing. I mean, when it first came out, everyone was like doubtful. Same thing with Power Platform. Everyone is doubtful. No, I don't think that's true. But then then a year or two later, you start realizing like, oh, they are really putting a lot of effort. Maybe we need to get on and really understand what it's trying to accomplish here. And a lot of people kind of, gets left behind. So
it's true.
It's important to stay up with it. And a question I have in your experience, because now that we know you've been at this longer than me, there also was a shift, because you think of, let's download to Excel. Often I would say, if someone had report changes or report requests, I would say, well, we have the data, let's give you it in a form where you can do it yourself. There was a shift, because when I first started working with this, everything was printed. PDF wasn't really a thing at that point. And if you wanted to do something like that, it was involved. So as the business and technology matured, there was a transition to a mindset of, I need to have this printout. I need to have this printout. Look at even now what people do with, books and ebooks. Some people still want to hold on to the paper. Some people are okay with reading it electronically. How much of that do you think played a role in the ability to adopt is what you and Chris were talking about with Power BI or other analytical tools. I will say Power BI just for the sake of conversation. There's several tools available to report data out of Business Central.
I do think the majority of users are give me the data, right? If I can get the data, I'll manipulate it the way I want. I hate to see people do that for every reporting need that they have, because that can be time consuming, right? But there you do have that, and I'm old school. I want to hold the book that I read. I've read a bunch on my Kindle, but I like the book. I like to turn the page. So there is still maybe it's like 30 or 40% of people who still want that printed piece of paper. I have some clients who, when it comes to what they're going to pay their vendors this week, they want to sign a piece of paper that approves, here's what you're paying. So it's still ingrained. I think there is, as the older ones like myself get out of the business world and you have younger people moving up, I do think there's more of a tendency to, hey, I can see it on the screen. If I can approve something electronically, I'm good to go, right? I think that's big and that's coming. You said something about, hey, put it on Excel. And Freddie's article, he says, okay, change how you approach the question that somebody has when they say they need a report. So if a customer says, build me a report, what you want to quit doing is don't say, sure, how do you want it formatted? What you want to do is, what data do you need? What are you trying to analyze? What are you using this for? Move to that, and then you may find that, hey, it's a list page, a saved view on a list page. It might be a Power BI report that you need because you want the slicers and things like that, so you can analyze the data in different ways. Maybe it's a simple Excel layout, or maybe it is, the analyzed view, or maybe a new query for that. So it can take a lot of different paths depending upon what the need is. And I do see a lot of people adapting to the list pages with the ability to save different views. And now the fact that you can add any table or any field from the table to a list page, that really added a lot of power for users, right? Of course, that just came out. So that's in its infancy, but still, I see that as just a tool that's going to grow, and people are going to use that more and more. I think we're all also very novice. We're all novices in using the Analyze tool. It's just hard to spend time.
I like the Analyze tool.
Same.
They've changed it recently to allow for queries to be on pages, to allow for the Analyze tool, and the Analyze tool had come out earlier in 2023. But the ability to create views, in essence, that are saved to give you that analysis on screen, that you can almost have pivot tables, goes back to that download to Excel. You no longer need to do that, but you can also set that pivot up and then export it to Excel with the filtered data. I think with it being new, it's like Chris and I have conversations, both recorded and not recorded. We talk about, unfortunately, I think I talk to him more than anybody. And, we have to cut that out. But we talk a lot about Business Central, right? Because we both have, deep passion for the product. It's how much of this is known even by individuals implementing Business Central, right? All these new features come out. You get me on another tangent, and we'll go back to the reports. But you mentioned we're all novices with the Analyze tool, but it's another area is how can someone stay up to date with all of these features and changes, and when is the right time to approach it? Because obviously, the first release typically is the one that may have a few issues, which again, it's understandable because you put it out there to the masses. People start using it different ways. You can't always use something how everyone would intend it to be used, and you get the feedback for it. But I see the analysis view is starting to take off, and I see the surprise with it. But
Yeah.
it's a sign right there that you need to. I think your point that you referenced from Freddie was paramount, because it's don't look at how do you want it to look, because sometimes, even from the consulting point of view, helping them understand what they want to analyze and giving them the tool to analyze what they want, right? Sometimes, is it someone may not know what they're asking for because they don't know what they don't know. So they're just going to ask for something that they're used to. So being able to flip it like that. That was just a complete ADHD full circle on 17 topics. Did you guys keep up? I had so much coffee this morning.
I do want to add one thing too, is that sometimes a person would ask you for a report. Say, I need a report for this, blah, blah, blah. You'll say, okay, how do you want it formatted? How do you want it presented? Also, the question comes around, it's like, who's it really for? And because that person could just be building it for somebody based on what they're told. And then once you understand, if you take a moment and ask, who is it really for? Who's the audience? Sometimes your consulting hat comes into play here, because it's like, oh, okay, they may also want this, because now that I understand who is it for, because that person may like, yeah, I'm just trying to write a report here, or, give some numbers. It's also very, very important, because there's been many times where I spend the time of either putting something together, and then at the end I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually for this person. Oh, it's for your executive person. They probably would want to know about this too. So let's take a look at this, and that would be very helpful, blah, blah, blah. But that gets forgotten a lot. I've worked with consultants where there's like, okay, I'll just build a report for you. Exactly what you're asking for, and then not realizing it's entirely for someone else, or maybe a customer-facing report.
That's so true. And if you think about who's consuming the report, right? Mm-hmm. And if you build those extra pieces in it, now it becomes a report that more people can consume. I worked on an upgrade from somebody going from 2009 to 2018 NAV a few years ago. And they had 400 NAV reports and 400 JET reports. And it's like, how many of these are you using in your, now
That's
granted
crazy.
They have maybe 400 people in organizations. Like, everybody have 2 custom reports. I mean, come on. And are they all reporting? Maybe they're all reporting sales. Are you getting the same number on all 100 reports for sales? Because I bet you're not. And then everybody's fussing about whose report's right. And there's something to be said for controlling those reports a little bit too, right? Because reporting can just get so out of hand. And so I like the step back in really talking about what do we need the report for. And I think Microsoft's take on that, is it a dashboard for executives? Is it operational? Is it customer facing? That focus can really drive what they're doing. And that's one of the things that I kind of liked at the end of Freddie's article. He goes, hey, check and see what we're doing and see if we're staying on track. Keep us true to what we say we're going to do. But I think that's good points, is just take a step back. And as consultants, sometimes we forget to do that. We want to please that client, and we forget to say, hey, what are you doing with this?
That is important. As I had mentioned, sometimes somebody asking for something may not know what they know what they're asking for. And if you ask them to design it, they can tell you somewhat of what they may want it to look like. But as you had mentioned, if you're not intimate with the data or other aspects of the application, you may not fully get what you're even looking for. You could maybe cut yourself short. So somebody giving you the means to where you can understand the data and then be able to report on it is important. So it seems to me that's also where the direction where reporting's going, where you separate them up from the analytical type tools, right? Which, again, they're really not reports anymore, because a lot of that can be done online, and then you can print or download. You guys were talking about, I do like to hold a book for some reason. I do like to flip the pages. I tried the e-readers and it doesn't work. But other than that, I don't want any paper. It's almost like writing a check, right? I rarely
print anything, right? I don't know about y'all, but I rarely print anything.
I don't.
From
I like
BC.
with the with the way things work with cloud storage, or in the Chris and I talk about the Apple ecosystem where you have handoff from device to device. I can work better because I can do things mobile from my phone to my iPad to my Mac easily without having to worry about leaving paper behind, or if I have to go somewhere, I can just pick it up and work with it. In your experience, all right, so we're talking about the reporting. We understand that the fixed reports would be the customer-facing documents, such as statements, invoices, shipments, or even purchase orders, whether it's printed or PDF. Now I even have to classify it as, a report. Now, a lot of individuals like to PDF their information, because I'm the same way. Like, if I can do like electronic documents, I will do that. I don't want anybody to send me anything. And if you do send me something, chances are I won't get it for a very long time, because that mailbox will not be opened for a long time. So, but from your experience, what do you feel or find is the most reported data, right? What do people request the most types? What type of data or analysis or reports do you find in your experience that is being asked for by customers?
Of course, I deal with a lot of core financial, right? And so that's easy. It's three things, right? My age payables, age receivables, and financial statements. I thought that Excel layouts was going to be a godsend for everything I wanted to do reporting wise. It's easy to take out to Excel, build charts and pivot tables around. The problem is, as with anything else, I need some fields from another table. And they just didn't build a way for us to do that in out of the box Excel layouts, right? Now, if I could have queries that did it and things like that, but I've still got to go back and get somebody to build that query, right? I don't, of course, in external facing documents, I kind of left out of your question. Everybody's going to want, their invoice formatted differently. A lot less on checks these days, right? Because we can talk them into ACHs, which is really nice. I hate formatting checks, but
don't even get me going down that road, because I do not understand why anybody wants to customize a check, because within the Business Central application, there is check stock that you can buy that it aligns to. And that check stock will cost you far less than trying to find somebody to line up a check that prints on a custom check.
totally
for all
agree.
these years, I do not even understand that why somebody would even go down the road. I'm sorry to jump in, but you mentioned the check, and it just sends me on.
Well, and I'm glad they're going away, right? I literally have some clients who's like, yeah, we don't need to format a check. We do ACHs, period. It's like, yes, that's the way to go. So yeah, to me, it's those three things that I see the most. And then you if you get into manufacturing or in distribution, you're always going to have a couple of operational reports that they're going to want. Hey, where's a packing slip, right? In BC. Where's it? Doesn't say packing slip anywhere. Where's a packing slip? And maybe the job traveler for manufacturing. So just different things like that they're looking for. But once I can talk to people who are actually the report preparers, if you will, and show them, so you get the comment, well, there's just not many reports in the system. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Let me show you. Let's talk about receivables. How many different ways can I take the age receivable report and print it for you? I can print for 1 or 2 or 10 pick different dates. You can age it 3 different ways. You can include this or that. And all of a sudden you start to see that, yeah, it's not necessarily the quantity of reports, but it's the quantity of things that you can do with one report. And, but I find it just takes a bit before people really can understand filters, and filters are the power in Business Central, right? So they're the power of reports as well. And that just takes a little bit for a lot of people to understand and really grab hold of all that they can do with filters.
That is spoken like a true.
That called "Filters Are My Best Friend" or something like that.
That is spoken like a true dinosaur in the community, because that's what they professed early on, because there wasn't a lot for reporting, or it was, this is how you can quickly analyze and see your data with the flow fields and everything else, because that's what they were pushing to get that. Chris, what do you see as some of the most common requests when it comes to reporting on data or analyzing data?
Oh, great question. One of the things that I find, of course, finance report.
All of my questions are great questions, Chris.
They are great questions. So finance report is probably one of the most common ones. But one of the things that I realize when they ask is that they would expect from an ERP application that it would be just out of the box, and it's going to give me all the answers. I just have to choose which one, and I'm done. So in many cases, you kind of provide what's out of the box, and in finance, that typically answers your questions right away of 90% of the things that they're asking. What I find where it becomes a little bit more challenging is when it comes to the operational side or sales, even sales. That's the most common ones that I spend a little bit more time. So to Kim mentioning earlier about manufacturing operations, that's a little bit more challenging because there isn't really much in Business Central or even NAV for reports out of the box. So the analysis that came out in Business Central is super helpful in when companies that are doing a little bit more sales or manufacturing for those kind of analysis and reporting. So I would say sales is probably in operations probably the most challenging. That depends, right? But that is where you spend a little bit more time of being a consultant and asking a lot of questions rather than finance. Finance, I mean, I don't know, it stays the same almost every year. Maybe a few changes here and there, and that's when you start asking the question, okay, should we use Power BI, or is it going to be a Excel report, and so forth? And that's where I think the bulk of the reporting needs. So that would be my answer, Brad. It's where, in my experience.
No, great. It's all based upon.
So, hey, Brad, what would be your response to your own question?
I don't touch reports.
He doesn't. He doesn't. Just give it to someone.
You're gonna say ask Chris.
I'll say ask someone else. No, I can help design for the data needs or the requests if somebody's doing something, and help come up with a solution for data modeling. But the output and such, I will stay away from. But going with that, it is the holiday season, as we talked about with some of the holiday decorations and such. And with this, as we talked about in a previous podcast, what would you like to see when you wake up on Christmas morning new to Business Central? If you could have any present underneath that tree that's sitting behind you, right, from Business Central, whether it's related to reporting or not, because that's a topic that we seem to be talking about now, what would you like to see underneath your Christmas tree within Business Central?
Microsoft.
That's it. Chris, you'll have to come up with one too. I'm just letting you know. And both of you, don't ask me.
I know. I talk about inventory to GL reconciliation a lot, right? And we have one field in inventory set up for expected cost. I would like to have expected cost for sales, expected cost for purchasing, and expected cost for manufacturing. I would like it to be 3 options. Because right now, if you turn it on, you get all of that. And it is a little hard to differentiate received not invoiced from output not finished. So take that a step further and fix my inventory to GL report to give me more columns that are useful, less columns that are just repetitive stuff that some programmer liked. Sorry, Brad. But those would be my big things, is so that I could separate that a little bit more.
Okay. Maybe Santa BC will bring you that for Christmas.
I think I put that in BC Ideas, so I'm going to have to go find it and put something out on LinkedIn and say, please go vote for this.
You absolutely should. That BC Ideas does work. I've seen several requests get put into both the development environment and the application. So I think that there is somebody out there listening to the community. It's a joke. People hear me say the community, and they like the community.
You can see that. They come in and show the ones under review, the ones that have been completed, which I think is fantastic that people have the ability to request things and they get considered. Okay, Chris, I'm on pins and needles wanting to know what you want under your Christmas tree.
I'm looking forward to hearing this too.
Oh, man. I think anything that's oh, that's a good one, because let's see. There are a lot of things that I would love to see in Business Central. One of them is more of a simplified onboarding based on, and I know this existed at some point, but based on the industry. When you set up Business Central, we have Copilot now that could probably give you a little bit more guidance when they say, hey, I'm a manufacturing company. And I would love to see it walk you through of the most basic setups and configuration based on the industry that you're on, and as a good starting point. And then down the road, maybe Copilot would be used to ask questions that you typically don't know what to ask as someone that's getting into Business Central. There's definitely a lot more organizations that are moving into Business Central. They don't know they're coming from QuickBooks, coming into a true ERP solution. That would be that would take a big chunk of the initial setup and configuration. And the rest, of course, you do the consulting and all that. So that's what I would love to see.
I do have an answer for that, by the way, for what I would like to see, but you will have to listen to the previous episode to hear my wish list. I'm not going to repeat. I don't have anything new to add. My biggest Christmas wishes for Santa BC to bring to me for 2024 were listed in the previous podcast. So everyone will have to listen to hear what I...
To tack on to what Chris said, I hate now how when you go set up a new company and you say production data, it gives you a chart of accounts. And it embeds that chart of accounts in all the posting setups, in batches, and everything else. And I just think I would much rather go back to what you were referring to, Chris, where you used to say, are you a manufacturing company? Are you a distribution company? It had 3 or 4 choices. Those were much better than what we have now. I get calls all the time. So I do a lot of rescues. And you get in there and they can't open a journal because this account number 10100 doesn't exist in their chart of accounts, or they're trying to use it, but it's some random account that doesn't make any sense, and they're not sure how it got there, and they're just all confused because these accounts are all over the place and nothing's posting the way they want to because they never knew how to set up posting in the first place.
There are options when you create a company for how it's created, but and those rescue customers that you hear of that, are they the same type of companies that have everybody as a super for a user?
Of course.
That's like
Yes.
that's like
I don't want to figure out permissions. I'm making everybody a super.
I wish I
told
could
you, I'm
say
fired
they
up
were.
I'm fired
in a
up
lot
today.
of cases, they just started adding users in whatever company they were in. That user got permissions to that company, and they don't know why that user can't work in other companies. And permissions, what are those? They don't have any idea.
Oh, that's an afterthought.
That's something
Exactly.
hopefully Santa could work on too. Santa
That would be a good
Santa
one.
Soft,
Yeah.
I guess would be the formal name now, or whatever anybody would like to call whomever is going to bring.
That was
these
a good
presents
question.
to-
I had to think about that one for a bit because there's so many things I'd like to see added, right?
Well, permissions they seem to be working on. That wasn't on my list,
They are.
but that is
Yeah.
something that that I could see them working on. So
way back in the day, I worked on a product called Mass 90.
I remember
yes.
Mass 90.
Yes.
And it had a reporting tool in it. And you could go in and you could say, I want this report starts with the customer, and I'm going to link it to maybe my sales prices based on customer number or something. So you had to have a little bit of a logic brain, right? But then you just pulled in the fields that you wanted. It opened up, and here's your fields you could ask for and how you wanted them formatted. So I never was real good at Crystal, but I think it was
Crystal
kind of
reports,
similar
yes.
to Crystal. But it was a little report writing tool, very different from the analysis reports that we have in BC, where you define all the rows and then you define the columns, kind of like you do in financials. But it was a real reporting tool. I don't know why we don't have something simple like that, just across the board, where I can just attack it. I want this table. I want to pull in these fields and be able to link maybe to one other table, sales, posted sales header to posted sales lines, something like that. We had that 30 years ago. Why don't we have that in a, highly advanced system today?
Oh,
I
we
guess
have many
that's supposed
tools
to be
that do
Power
that.
BI.
You have Power BI, you have other reporting tools that can work with Business Central.
Yeah.
With that, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. I was looking forward to speaking
fun.
with you. It's always a pleasure speaking with members of the community such as yourself. And now
we found someone older than you, Brad, in the BC space or NAV space.
I know. I have to. Yes.
Brad's very upset with me today, I can tell.
Yeah. I thought I had something there, but maybe not. Well, I guess maybe she can leave, because if she does leave the community, right, and retires and doesn't work with it
then you've been around
then you're
longer.
the oldest one.
Then I'm up there with a few others that are around the same time. But would you mind telling everyone how they can get in contact with you to learn more about your services for Business Central, your thoughts on Business Central, and also to be able to listen to you with some other cast of characters?
It's easy. My email address is my first name at my last name. So Kim@Dallefeld.com. So that's pretty easy. You can also look at my blog. It's Kim D and NAV BC. So and is spelled out, and then NAVBC.com. So also you can go to Dynamic Communities, the company that puts on Summit for us, listed as an expert, all-star expert there. Or you could use forum and reach out that way. So however you would like to reach out and ask me a question, I'm always happy to help. And I hope you guys have me back sometime. This was fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll have you back.
Absolutely. And you also have to let everybody know about the podcast that you do with a few other members of the community as well. Because It's important. We'll post.
Well, y'all have a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to not only you two guys, but everyone watching. I think 2024 is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of new things coming in the channel, a road show and days of knowledge, and just some different meetings and meetups. So it should be a lot of fun.
You as well. Happy holidays. Hope you have a pleasant Christmas and a Happy New Year. If I don't have the opportunity to speak, because I know everybody's really busy this time of year, not only with work and trying to finish things up to take some time off, but also spending time with family. I know I myself shift focus for a couple weeks. Believe it or not, Chris, and you.
I tell you're a Grinch.
I do shift focus to try to spend time.
No decorations in his house.
But it's a lot easier for me to clean up. Right? Everyone else goes through the stress of putting them up and the stress of taking them down. Me, I just go bloop.
You are the Santa. You just go. You don't have to, put decorations. You just go to people's houses, eat their food, cookies, and then come back.
Cookies. Don't even get me started on the cookies. That's my vice right there. But thank you again, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Totally enjoyed it. Thanks,
guys.
Thank
you, Kim.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Take care.
Thank you, Chris, for your time for another episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. And thank you to our guests for participating.
Thank you, Brad, for your time. It is a wonderful episode of Dynamics Corner Chair. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners tuning in as well. You can find Brad at developerlife.com. That is DVLPRLIFE.com. And you can interact with them via Twitter, DVLPRLIFE. You can also find me at matalino.io, MATALINO.io. And my Twitter handle is Matalino16. And you can see those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, and take care.